All right, so now that we've mixed the resin, we've added our mica powder, and now we're ready to pour. And so, Andrea, go ahead and start pouring into the mold while I talk about some other things. Um, you know, one of the things I've got going here is I've got these weighed down with these. I have T-tracks here installed on this particular table, but I realize the average person out there is probably not going to have these installed. And so ultimately, these weighed down, and you just put these little HDPE places in the middle so they're able to come out and not stick to any resin in case you go over the board. But most people are just simply going to use weights when they're doing it. So you do want to make sure that you've got your HDPE pieces here, and you can order sheets of that through Amazon and cut those down to whatever size you need. That's typically the same thing that's made out of a lot of cutting boards. With this particular material, it's a very common material for cutting boards. It's also typically a food safe thing in food and beverage, areas where they can, kind of put that on table surfaces and they don't have to worry about contamination. So that's really kind of the history behind some of this, in case you didn't know, which is why they're great for cutting boards too. But typically, if you do go over on the board with these particular pieces, then you just take a hammer and just a light tap, it'll pop right off, and you just reuse them over and over and over and over. I've never had to discard one for any particular reason. So as you'll notice here, if you can see, hopefully you can see up in the camera above, but if you can't, there's edges around here because this is a silicone mold. It's not going to stay perfectly rigid. So we've got some seepage happening on the sides as well as over here. Because we've got these, weighted down properly, this wood is not going to go anywhere. And so it's important, like I've talked about before, you start with a super flat board. I cannot stress how important that is to be able to do that. And so if you do that, when you turn that, when you take the end result out of the mold, you're basically going to see just a little bit of resin across the bottom that will plane right off, no problem, and you'll end up with the thickness that you're desiring. And so hopefully this illustration today has helped you a lot. Now, there's some creative things that people can do, right, Andrea?
Absolutely.
So kind of take a swirl through there and show the folks up there, some of the things that you can do with it to create any kind of creative design that you're looking for. And man, that's already starting to look great. One of the things I find when you are doing this, you want to make sure you go to your very edges and make sure you kind of focus on that. But there's really no wrong or right when you're doing it as far as how you go about it. But ultimately, this beautiful thing that Andrea is making for us right now does not mean anything, does it, Andrea?
No.
Because this stuff is still very liquidy. It's not dense yet. And so ultimately, if you come back here 30 minutes later, that's just going to be all dissolved and be back to just a straight solid color. Now, one of the things that happens is there's a stage later on, and there's a lot of variables that come into play when you can actually come back out and manipulate it, as an example, to get some swirl effects like I've got back over there, if that's what you're going for. But we're going to be doing another video on that, because what happens is this needs to set, and it really depends on the temperature where you're at, the relative humidity, some other things like that. But, I have found that most of these, depending on the size and the thickness of the pour, anywhere from 6 to 9 hours before you can really start to play with it to get it to be able to get that creative design. So that's why I always recommend that you pour early in the morning, so that gives you plenty of time, because I have spent countless nights waiting up way, way, way past this old man's bedtime to try to get there, and was quite a bit cranky the next day. So hopefully you've learned some things from today along the way, and we've enjoyed kind of coming together and really kind of teaching what we know. You're going to get a chance to see all of the different projects that we do here in our particular shop. Many of the items that we make are used by hotels in a boutique hotel luxury format on their banquet buffet. So that's where a lot of our boards go. Of course, we plan to do a lot of other things outside of that, but that's what we've been doing a lot of so far. So Andrea, you want to go ahead and close us out of here?
Well, I guess until next time.
I think I threw her for a stump there. She's not quite used to doing this. I've actually got another YouTube channel that's unrelated to all of this. It's called Studio Talk. If you happen to be a musician or something like that and you do home recording, just type my name, Barry Johns, in, and it'll take you straight to it, and you'll get a chance to see the other things that we do.
The bell and the...
Oh,
And
that's
like
right.
and
Hey,
subscribe.
it's kind of helpful if they subscribe to the channel, right? We got to start mentioning that a little bit earlier in the video. A little plant that seed, because who knows if somebody's staying all the way to the end watching us talk. She's pretty to look at, but I'm not. And so, but anyway, until next time, we hope all of you have a great day. Bye-bye. Today, we're really going to talk through a few processes here on, really pouring your blah, 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 blah. And then we had it down when we were practicing. We could have just filmed
I
that.
have no problem whatsoever.
Well, that's because you're you and I'm me and I'm dumb and you're smart. Today, we thought we'd take a moment to actually walk you through pour and into okay.
I might have to talk.
You might have to at this point. Okay.
Sorry.
I'm the professional, on it. So we're going to do that one again because this time she screwed up. The first time, the second time, third time, the 25th time I screwed up. And so that's just the way it rolls. Okay. Because you weren't paying attention. See, I did not. This is up
I
for
see
bloopers.